Tired of the way YouTube's making you feel nowadays?
I am.
Join us at the And What Are We Doing Here podcast, where we answer just that question. I'm Dan.
And I'm Mike. All right.
Join us this week where we talk about history that should be rewritten with the Goob. We had a nice interview with him that we're going to throw up and throw out. Maybe not throw up.
No, I almost did throw up.
Would be the best.
Yes. It might be pregnant. I'm not sure. The test hasn't come back yet, but yes. And we will talk about other cultural relevant events, such as Joe Mama and her friend. No, we won't talk about that any longer. I'm sorry, Dan. We'll cut that out.
I don't care. My mom's not around.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's cool. So check it out.
She would crush you. You wouldn't have the balls to mess with her. My mom was a
Your
gangster.
mom was a gangster, dude.
Gangster, man.
She was a verbal assassin, I believe.
She was super educated. My mom, like, when I was a kid, we had a library in the house. You know what I mean? Like, it was literally, she would go to, like, this little bookstore, this used bookstore down in the Northgate Plaza down there.
Okay, keep going.
And,
I think I know where that one is.
Yeah, I used to go. Right? She used to let me get like truly tasteless joke books, which were like way. I was like 10 reading these gnarly stuff, but she like if I was gonna read whatever, I was operating at a different level then anyways, so I could, I was always treated like an adult by my parents, so it's kind of like I grew up young. Funny. You know what I mean? Yeah, like I had 10 years old, I was reading stuff that I probably shouldn't.
I had several guardrails, right? Like bedtime was 8 o'clock, period. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, we don't discuss this, you little rugrat. Then the other one was I could not watch one movie, man. It was Last House on the Left. I still haven't watched it to this day.
Yeah, Texas Chainsaw Massacre was when it really bugged me out.
No, I could watch any. They would let me watch any movie. Obviously not.
Yeah, my parents were really liberal with that kind of stuff. I could watch whatever I wanted. I could pretty much do whatever I wanted as long as my grades were good. Like if I was rocking straight A's and stuff, which I did for a long time, she would just be like, "You can do whatever you want." You know what I mean? Yeah. So I did, but that also let me, really do what I want. I probably shouldn't have been doing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I had that. But I don't know, man. I don't know what's up with Last House on the Left. That guardrail is still up in my life.
Is that a true story? Is that based on a true story?
I have no idea what happened in the movie.
Well, it can't be good.
I know. I just don't even go anywhere there's a house and it's the last one on the left. I still stay away from those.
We have one on this street.
I'm not going there.
I know. I don't even go past the neighbors. I always turn around their driveway. I honestly, in the past like 8 years, I might have driven down to the cul-de-sac maybe like 3 times. You know what I mean? Like while I was turning my,
I've never been down.
All 3 times I had a truck and trailer on because I could swing around and not have to back a single axle trailer into a driveway and thread the needle.
That's funny. What you were saying about the bookstore made me think. So this weekend, and which ties into our interview with the Goob there, right? So I went to see that famous comedian Danny Polishchuk up in Saratoga Springs. Now, I don't know if you know this, but Saratoga Springs and Albany in and itself is one of the oldest cities in the country. It's like the top 3, I think.
Yeah, it's old.
It's old,
and
right?
It's evident when you go there. You come in and like
it is evident
stuff. It's wow.
So the GPS. It's funny because on the way home, the GPS brings me by. I could have went down the highway, but on the way in, they drove me through town.
Yeah, take the 20. It's called the 20. It comes right. You get off the exit 88.
Some really old farms there.
Oh yeah, I had a friend that used to live up there. Cookie. He was a political activist and graffiti artist.
Oh, I thought it would be a baker with a name.
No. He had a lazy eye and his eyes looked like Cookie Monsters. That's why we call him Cookie, because his eyes were a little, he's a great guy, but his one eye's a little weird. You know what I mean? But that's how he got where he got the name Cookie.
Being a wonderful fella has nothing to do with his eyeball resembling Cookie Monster.
Yeah, no, it was fantastic. That's where he got the name though, Cookie, because his eye looked like googly eyes. But he used to have the best trees in the world. I used to love going up there. Anytime I was visiting Cookie and up in Albany up there, because that's where he lived on the 20 as soon as he got into Saratoga in town. Okay. You know what I mean? Like, and I spent a lot of time up there actually in my childhood because like Cookie was my glass partner Justin's best friend.
Okay.
And basically we used to go up there and visit Cookie a lot, and I would always roll along and we'd be selling our glass wares along the way up to 88, so hitting Oneana, and we sell a ton of glass there.
I think it's like one of the 3rd oldest ones in the country. It's in the top 4 for sure, top 5, right? Anyway, we, in this state, we kind of have a funny history, which you don't really think we don't talk about much. Like, first, it was Amsterdam. It was the Dutch that owned the place, right? Rented it, whatever you want to say. Then it was then the Dutch, then the English, and then the French really owned this part. This would be called Louisiana, I believe, up here in the old days.
Really?
I think it might have been all the way. But the French owned it, and then the Indians had this swath basically.
Oh, this is part of the original first 13 colonies.
Yeah, but if you think about New York State as it looks now, with that big old, you know what I mean?
The boot.
Yeah, the big, like, the inner chunk of it was all not America as we would think of it now, right? It was either, again,
French
Canadian, and Indian, like. And then after
yeah, definitely. When you get up in Vermont and stuff, people still speak that stuff up there. There's a lot of French Canadians up along the border, and even up by Danielle's mom.
Okay, and so then when you come down through there, our area here is like right on the edge of, because it's like the Susquehanna that is like the bottom east edge of this thing. You know what I'm saying? Of the old border, and then it went in through. And then some of the Great Lakes, and so then they built Syracuse, or not Syracuse,
Saratoga,
Albany, and Saratoga Springs, and you can see too the land's different up there. It's like on the top of the hills, you know what I mean? It's on the top of the mountains, but it's old. When I got into town too, dude, I was shocked. Like, there's nothing's for rent. There's like you go down Main Street in Binghamton, right? It's like Syracuse is the same.
Oh, it's
Rochester,
booming. It's
booming. Like,
Albany's there, but Albany's a way denser populated place, and it's a lot of city people are up there because it's a straight shot from the city.
Albany is smaller than it's the smallest city. It's the smallest metropolis we have.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people there, and like Saratoga's close. It's all like one big bubble, and there's a lot of tourist stuff up there, and there's military bases.
When you go down,
there's a bunch of schools. You know what I mean? There's Albany School of Medicine.
When you start that makes sense now. When you start looking at the health of the downtown district, right? There's a downtown. Like there was downtown. The comedy club was downtown.
Yeah.
And then as you're into the downtown, all the side streets, all the little stuffs was rented. Like around back where you're parking for some apartments that live on the top.
Everybody that I know that's ever lived there lived in a house with multiple people. It wasn't like all my friends, nobody had apartments their own. They'd rent a house,
that makes sense.
Then they would all live in it almost like a dorm. And that's like the way it's done up there. You know what I mean? Like I don't think all the student housing, that's just must be the way.
Is the other thing that
a lot of these houses get bought up. That whatever it is. But I mean, it's chill. Everybody's cool like that. But I like it because it's more like communal. You know, everybody has to be mindful. Like this is not just my living room. You know what I mean?
So what I'm saying is when I was downtown, man, it wasn't really like the people I saw walking on the streets were not kids.
Yeah.
They were adults.
There's actually a lot of drugs and stuff up there too. There's Troy's pretty rough.
They were not those people by any stretch of the imagination. I could not believe the amount of money walking around that town. It was insane. The people were like, I mean, just
there's a lot of old money.
And clearly, like it was like older, like our age and older, or rich couples. That's all I saw, like walking up and down the street. Then families, and then some hipster kids. But it was in that order. Yeah. Like I couldn't believe the amount of couples. Like you don't see that downtown here at all.
Well, we live in a blue collar industrial wasteland. Okay, like literally, it's a wasteland. You don't really even
see this in New York. It felt like New York City, dude. It was weird. I felt it was weird. It was anomalous.
Yeah, it's I don't know.
But what you're saying
because it's the capital too.
It's a capital,
right? There's a lot of old politician money up there and new politician money. There's a lot of those old families that have been up there. A lot of that stuff is legacy owned. You know, you can't buy places up there. I can't stress
the amount of couples I saw. You know what I mean? Which is weird because don't see down here people going on date night and crap. They were clearly on date night. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, they're more affluent and stuff. I mean, there's jobs there. There's tons of stuff up there.
That's a good point.
There's no jobs
Professional class?
There's nothing here. You got BAE and you got Lockheed, and that's it. I mean, because IBM is gone. Like we have a whole city, Endicott, New York, which is basically a ghost town of old buildings. Like it's crazy. You know, they're knocking some of them down, but primarily Endicott is, and it's sitting on the sea. What is this shit that's in the soil?
Oh, I got you. I don't know,
CTE or whatever. It's like chloral, thylene, ethylene. It's some part stripper that 140,000 gallons went into everybody's basement, and now everyone on the whole north side of Endicott has to have vents in their homes because they're sitting on a toxic plume, causes kidney damage, weird cancers, like, you know, it's just bad, you know, like nobody wants to move in there. You're not going to get a new business to build on those sites because they're polluted. They'd have to clean it up. Yeah. You have to remove all that soil, how many feet down, and it's gotten in the aquifer over the year. It's completely the water table. It's like there's so much, it's been in there creeping down so long that to get through, to get that soil removed, right, you'd have to remove all those rocks. Yeah, right. You know what I mean? Because it is getting into the aquifer slowly, you know.
What's an aquifer? Oh, shoot, I screwed up the joke. Forget it.
You know, when we had the 100-year flood, it really made everything bad. It pushed the plume out super far. Right. Yeah, those floods, like they almost by design, they washed Endicott and pushed all the concentrated plume up and out and onto the ground everywhere. And now it's not as dense down below, but it's everywhere. Yeah. That was one of the craziest things I'd ever seen and experienced.
Word. Yeah. I still want to go back to the Saratoga thing. Sure. So yeah, I was really, you know, you can see the difference between obviously like a place that's still alive then in this part of the town or the state that is definitely
nice
or hasn't attracted that thing. And like I went to this one store, right? And you know, you see what the obviously fine threads I be wearing, right? So I was attracted by some fine threads in the window, you know, and so I'm like, okay, obviously I fit in this place. There's like lumber crap that's making up their shelves and like deer antlers, okay, right? You smell my vibes.
Yeah, well, it's on the edge of the North Country.
So I'm walking in here, and I'm looking at the nice clothes. They got cowboy boots and hats, and I roll up, and I look at this shirt, and it's a leather shirt, and I'm like, that's nice. And I look at the price.
A leather shirt?
A leather shirt, like a button-down shirt like this.
Really? I've never seen one of those in my life.
Right, whole rack of them, actually.
Wow. What does a leather shirt cost, if you don't?
That's what we're getting to.
All right, let's spit.
So I look at the price, Mikey looks at the price, and I go, oh, wow, that seems expensive. And I adjust my glasses in again, and I go, oh, there's a comma there. That's $1,500, not $150. You know what I'm saying, Doug? Like, wow. And I wondered why the lady scowled at me when I walked in, right? She just looked at me.
It's like, who's this knucklehead?
She eyeballed me, and she was watching me the whole time. And the other little girl, she's younger, she said, hello, can I help you? And I'm like, nah, ma'am, I'm just looking. And I'm looking at the other stuff, and I see the coat, another leather coat, and that was made in Italy.
Well, little did she know you're a YouTube star.
I know. I was like, bro, I would have taken one of everything, but I didn't want to because I left my wallet in the car.
I know.
But the lady was, anyway, yeah, the place, I was clearly way out of my price range. And so I kept looking, and man, this stuff was like expensive. And then when I got out of there, I realized, like, I looked around the rest of on the strip.
Listen, let me just say
one more thing, and I didn't even go there, but it was the beef jerky experience, dude.
In my world, if you spend $1,500 on a shirt, you might be a dick. You have to really check yourself and, you know, figure it out. There's kids that could use you could buy a whole freaking block of kids some t-shirts or socks or something, $1,500 on a shirt. Like, I just don't get that stuff. People are living in some weird places, you know, like that reality that you live in where you think that's okay and that's acceptable. That's just, that's bizarre to normal people.
Well,
you're
not
normal.
I will say one thing about
if you do stuff like that,
you know, like it's almost like you could wear it like a really thin coat. And like, you know what I mean?
If it has $1,500 worth of functionality, like
they don't have $1,500.
Everybody would be safe.
I don't know what
buying them.
What Italian leather goes for.
You get in a rainstorm, you're gonna look like a Dalmatian forever. It's like it's just not. To me, it's not real. Like I literally am wearing clothes I've had for a decade. I just don't find the need to spend money on that. You know, after I got better from being sick, I don't see the function of that. You would trade it all for one more day, one more minute with the people you love, you know, and your doctor's like, get your affairs in order. Right. This don't work. Yeah, $1,500 t-shirts and shit don't add up anymore. Yeah. You know what I mean? It quickly becomes irrelevant. It's a very beautiful learning experience to go through. It's terrible to do it at the time, but I'm glad that I did.
Yeah,
you know, God's got a plan.
So we gotta. So he's got a plan for me to finish this stupid Saratoga Springs part.
So the Gucci stores.
So the Gucci stores. Anyway, yeah, I was shocked, and now I'm learning how fast I need to edit myself on the fly because it took me so long to get to this part. That I went up there to go see Danny's show, and I walk into the club and they have a Volkswagen, a red Volkswagen behind the bar. It was a really nice club, man.
In the bar.
In the bar, right behind the bar.
That was the bar. Like, was it functional?
Well, you walk up
in it, or
and then I think you could drive it. Probably, it looked really nice.
Wow, they had a real Volkswagen.
It was a real red one. And then I asked him if they have punch buggy. People be punching each other over the punch buggy red thing, and he's like, no. Unironically, I'm pretty sure. But the guy was a comedian. He was the first comedian. So I don't know, dude. If you're watching this. Was that a joke? I'm not sure. I don't think it was.
Like, you'd think they wouldn't put something like that in a bar because all the fights, punch bugs.
That's what I'm saying.
Bro. You get broed down just for playing punch. You know what? Maybe that's just dating us.
Yeah. Well, that is funny you say that because when I talked on, I called Goob on his show this week, and I asked him about if in his, or I don't know if I asked him. I was telling him a story about the punch buggy, and he goes, we play another game called, oh shit. Poop. Woody Whackers.
What is that?
When you see the cars with the wood siding.
Oh yeah.
Woody Whacker.
Oh, that's a good game. I'm down. I'm gonna be throwing down into that for sure.
Yeah. But anywho, so
we got Padiddle, Woody Whacker, Punch Bug, and I don't know.
I don't know any other. I forgot about the Padiddle. Right, that's funny.
Punch for one of them.
Except for if it's I did that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I guess you wouldn't see that on your car. So I guess that doesn't make any sense. That would be like, why would you be seeing somebody put it on the gas station pump? Don't make no sense.
Yeah, the price. I did that. They put it on the price.
Anywho, I go to the comedy show, watch the comedy show. It was funny. Danny rolls with a thick entourage, and it was a serious joint. You know what I mean? It was like after you go to the Volkswagen part, you come in and it's set up like a little club, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's a couple of stage doors, and so there was a green room, and he knew I was going to ask him the killer question anyway, so he was clearly avoiding me, and I can hear my.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
That's too funny.
And so, and then I hear they got a rule about heckling there. If you can't heckle, and they throw you out. And I figured that was just for me because they knew I was going to ask him who Eric was, and that he didn't want to answer because he's afraid. So we didn't get the answer. We didn't get the inside scoop. I'm a little disappointed. Had fun. Worth the $25 for the ticket. Great club. I'd go there again.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did you come back that night, or did you stay?
I made it back that night. Yeah, it's a quick drive.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's for me. I've left shows planning on staying and camping and stuff, and be like, nope, I'm not sleeping on the ground.
Yeah.
I quit that after the Grateful Dead days. Once I started doing Fish Tour and stuff, it was hotel or no-tell.
Hotel or no-tell. I can see that because that's just a drag, especially unless you got a
Bro,
van.
I'm telling you, what it is? It's you can't sleep in a tent because at 7 a.m. the sun hits it. No matter where you are, you just start dying in there. And like if you've been up dancing and stuff all night at a show, and like and then trying to get some good rest in a tent. And especially with all the crazy hippies running by, the sound of balloons going up into the air, and I much prefer I take a nice hot shower, throw on the tube, get some room service, and that's how you do it. Like if I can't do it that way, I can't afford it to do it like that or whatever. I won't do it. You know what I mean? I've been through that shit show rodeo. I'm all set, man. You know what I mean? Style or not.
If you're gonna be, I could imagine it. Anyway, so that's that for the comedy show. It was good. Saratoga Springs, interesting. Old. We'll get to. What else we got there? That's about it, really. So we'll roll the Goob footage right now, and we'll come back after that.
Sounds good.
Let's do this. Yeah, let's go.
All right, Goob. How you doing today, buddy?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So, Goob, let me just ask you a quick question. How did your parents come up with that name?
It was, they had a lot of kids. They were running out of names. I don't know.
I can empathize. My mom just named me Michael because she said it was easy. You know what I mean? She's like, There we go. We're done. So, all right. So, Goob, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I guess you want a history of how I got into this?
Yeah. How did you get here?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
What is? Yeah. Tell us how you got here.
Well, I hated history in school. It was my least favorite subject throughout all of school, and the impression that I always got from school and from pop culture was that basically everyone before us was these savage idiots, these ooga booga cavemen.
Right.
And it turns out that couldn't be further from the truth. And what finally got me into this is what I think got a lot of people into history, which is the alternate angle, the alternate history angle. And I watched this video on YouTube, which the point was to cause a paradigm shift, and it definitely accomplished its goal. And it was about the Great Pyramid and all the secret information encoded within it, and a bunch of marvelous facts about the Great Pyramid, which I now realize at least half of them were probably completely bogus, but it did serve its purpose, and it got me into history, and I went down many, many different alternate history rabbit holes and learned a lot of things and enjoyed the stories, found it very fascinating. I found that alternate history suffers largely from the same issues that mainstream does, though. Both have already decided what the truth is, and both are pursuing facts exclusively to, persuade people towards that truth and ignoring facts that disagree with it. And so both raise some good points. Both sides raise good points, but I think the truth likely lies somewhere in the middle, and that's what I'm trying to get to, and that's what I'm interested in finding is what actually happened.
Yeah, that I see a lot of that where they're basically digging for the facts to fit their narrative, and they don't pay much attention to things that don't, discredit it here, discredit it there. It's like, well, wait a minute, like this one thing can totally blow your whole thesis away, and you're just like glossing over that. Okay.
And you should be excited about that too. You know what I mean? And my thing is always like with Clovis first, right? Forever it was Clovis first, Clovis first. Found anything older than that, then you were nuts, and they ran you out of town. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden, the numbers keep going back further and further. And a lot of times
getting older and older.
Yeah. Right.
Well, I started really paying attention when it's funny you say the pyramids, because that's what made me really start paying attention was the perfection and stuff, and some of the things that they still can't do today, in there. And
I know you did a little bit of a show on that, didn't you, Goob?
Yeah. So not so much the pyramid specifically, but a lot of the granite work in Egypt. I did several shows, and I actually think we can do all of that today. Is my personal opinion.
Sure.
There are some things that we find in ancient Egypt that don't seem explainable by the level of technology that we assume they had back then. So,
what would those examples? Would you have examples of that?
The best example would be the vases, the very precise vases made out of granite and other very hard stone that are pre-dynastic, before the Great Pyramids were even built. 5,000+ years old, or at least 4,500 years old. And some of them they have the exact same level of precision that we achieve today on these precise lathes that we have, these high speed lathes that we use to turn stone vases on lathes today. And there actually very recently been some experiments done where they compared a marble stone vase, so a very soft stone, compared to these granite vases from the ancient past. And some of them had even higher levels, not significantly higher. It wasn't like multiple orders of multiplication, but it was, some of them were even more precise than this marble vase, a much softer stone made on a high precision lathe today. So how that was done roughly 5,000 years ago is still a question in my book.
Well, I think they might have softened it. I was just watching something recently, actually, about an Archimedes mirror, and that when you have a large enough mirror that that focuses that light down to a plane, that and they actually use granite as the example, where they were using it like almost like a laser beam, like it was causing the granite to become soft. You know, it was like very cool. I didn't know that this, you know, so I knew sunlight could get pretty serious, but I had no idea, you know, like at the scope, you know, that's what they were calling it, was an Archimedes mirror.
Does the idea of, you would think about like the idea of soft stone is weird until you think about that's what concrete is, isn't it? Right? It starts off so.
Yeah. Glass is a form of it.
You know, there's a lot of very interesting architecture and stone structures that softening the stone sure would help explain a lot of them. You know, I don't know what the answer is. I'm really not sure. They clearly knew what they were doing, you know?
Yeah, I think they used harmonics. Like there's all kinds of different, you know, in cymatics, different theories, you know, that they could make different resonances to cause the stone to do different things that we, you know, like, I don't know if just forgot how to do this stuff, or it was systematically destroyed or whatever. We just don't possess that knowledge anymore. But there's theories of it, you know, that you know, you see that high technology nowadays, they're starting to use that stuff with quantum locking and things, you know. It's just frequencies.
There's a lot of caves that have harmonics in them, you know, they resonate very specifically to specific frequencies. So they seem to understand that pretty well in the ancient world.
See, my thing about, it's easy for technology and information to get lost. I mean, if you think about it, nobody needs a barrel maker much anymore. In a short time, that whole technology in way of building things is going to be forgotten. Nobody's going to use it.
It's also human nature to like protect those kind of secrets, because like as me as a glass blower, like when I first started blowing glass, one of the hardest things to do was get people to come off any of the secrets. You know, these old soft glass blowers were like, you're not having it unless you're paying. And then when I started researching glass history and stuff, like when the Italian mastiffs were actually bred to keep the glass blowers from leaving the island of Murano, because you could be sentenced to death if you taught people how to pass that trade along, you know, which would be real easy for that to be done other places. You know, it's like, no, we're not going to let you learn this. And if you do, so it narrows it down to the, you know, and then you can see easily how that was.
I agree with that 1,000%. I think that along many other factors are overlooked. And so the entire idea of just how easy it is to lose things is drastically, you know, underappreciated by most people, I think.
Yeah, you see what these governments do, like the Taliban and stuff, where they systematically blow those things up and carve the faces off the idols, and you know, like, and that's just one generation. That's 10 years.
Destruction, not creation. And
I just funny you guys say that, because last night when I was watching something that I forgot, maybe it was a video I was showing you, and they showed exactly that. They're blowing up these freaking like, it looked like those things in Petra or something. It was awful.
They're just crimes against humanity.
Boom, boom, boom,
you know, the Hague should step in there, but they, you know, these are lawless, crazy countries. That's the least of their concern is the statues. But man, what a tragedy.
So what do you have, like 1,000-foot view of your, do you, like, I would ask for maybe a chronology. I don't know if that's the right word of history or where we went wrong.
So I agree with a lot of alternate ideas, but I also agree with a lot of the mainstream. So just as an example, I think that Khufu actually did build the Great Pyramid 4,500 years ago, most likely. But I also believe in Atlantis, or if not specifically something by that name. I believe that the Earth has gone through many cycles of disaster, that humans have gone through many cycles of disaster, that we have built grand societies many times in the past, and they've been erased, and we've rebuilt them, and they've been erased and rebuilt. And a lot of religions talk about this. You know, the Mayan religion, just as an example, talks about these different ages that humanity has gone through. And so I believe that to be true. I think that, you know, if the Great Flood, the biblical Great Flood, was the Younger Dryas 12,000 years ago, I'm not at all surprised that we haven't found good evidence for these previous ages, because that's so long ago, and the face of the planet got reasranged with the Great Flood.
I mean, if you think about the amount of volume of water that Younger Dryas thing would be, right? I mean, that's just it's almost unfathomable
across the northern hemisphere.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I think there could be evidence to support that stuff in the bedrock, but it's just unattainable. You know, like if you could dig down 1,000 feet in certain places, well, like to be able to get down in there to, you know, but they find they unearth certain pieces of that stuff here and there, that things are just like, this is like a perfectly made screw that's like machine quality screw in a rock that's
man-made artifact in stone.
You got a series on that, don't you?
It's undeniable that's like, how do you prove anything contrary to that? That came out of stone. It was right there. You know what I mean? Nobody's like hiding it or putting it 500 feet in the ground. You know, they're blasting for some other project, and randomly some dude kicks a stone and
there it is.
What in the heck is that?
Did you run a series on that, right?
Yeah, I have talked about that, and it's happened. There's so many examples. There's no shortage of examples of that. Yeah.
Right on. Did we cut you off in your history narrative there? Did we?
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Okay, Atlantis. This is the last I remember. So listen, that might happen, and we'll try to pay attention for that in the future. Sorry, sir.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely fine, man. But yeah, you know, so if the last cycle ended 12,000 years ago, I don't know what we were doing for 6,000 years. It makes, because you see this explosion of civilization with Sumeria, where they created everything, almost everything we have today, except for like electricity and digital technology. Sumeria had 6,000 years ago as the very first civilization. And so I kind of lean towards maybe there was another civilization in between the Great Flood and 6,000 years ago that also somehow got erased. I don't have a whole lot of evidence to back that up, but that's what makes sense to me, and that Sumeria was this recovery of that civilization. And then, like I said, I believe the Great Pyramids were built by Khufu. I believe that a lot of the structures in the ancient world that we're seeing, while I think inheritance is a possibility from previous ages, I don't think a lot would have survived the Great Flood or these other cataclysms. So I think most of it was constructed by these ancient humans, largely as the mainstream history says, but the mainstream obviously is missing things like the vases, for example. There are some examples where not necessarily it's super advanced Atlantean alien technology level stuff, but obviously more than we've given the ancient people credit for. They've achieved at some points. So that's my 1,000. You know,
right on. So, what was my next question? Chicken or beef?
Beef.
Okay, coffee or tea?
Coffee.
All right, good answers. Amen. Good answers. But we were worried. Okay, we also have another quick question that's not on the alternate history narrative, but who, in fact, is Eric?
I think we all know who Eric is, Mr. Polish Chuck. But no, what's even stranger about the Eric thing is after I made that video, I have not seen Eric again.
You know, I was
the one and only appearance.
Exactly, dude. Exactly. It's funny because I think I was in the chat for that one, and I thought he meant to spell first FIRST, all of those lowercase, and then a capital T. And that's what I did. But yeah,
Eric did this like 3 times or something, and then it was very strange. He would place into the contest and then immediately leave the chat, and he did that 3 times. And then after I made the video, I never saw him again. It was obviously it was Danny.
Yeah. But, that was. Would you like to call him out here right now, once and for all? Tell him we know.
Yeah, I think he did. He definitely did. That Eric video was epic. Priceless. That was fantastic.
Okay, so how did you get your channel started?
Danny, you know, he gave me an opportunity to present some of my ideas as a guest on his show, and then I thought that was a lot of fun, and I was like, I think I'm gonna do that every week.
Right on. What was the deal? Did somebody didn't show up, and then you just pinch hitted? Right?
Yeah, and then he showed up after like 2 hours, and Danny immediately cut me off.
Who was it? Was it Ryan Dawson?
Hey, man.
At least you got bumped by somebody, you know.
Well,
what I mean?
and then it started your YouTube thing. You know what I mean?
On.
Like even if just for that alone, it was totally worth it.
Say that again, Goob. I'm sorry.
I was just saying it was very cool of him. I appreciated it.
Yeah. What was my shoot? I just was gonna. I hate when this happens because I have the memory of a boomer. So let me see here.
From it too. So.
Okay, my last little bit here. So basically, I think we've gotten. So really, you agree with a lot of mainstream history. It's just that there is a lot of outliers that they easily wipe away.
Yes and no. I agree with it a lot more than I think a lot of alternate history people do, but there is no shortage of criticism that I have for it. You know, I think they deliberately ignore a lot of things. You mentioned Clovis first as one example. That mentality is rampant though through mainstream. And there's also so many examples of, I mentioned Lucy last week on the show, and that's supposedly debunked now. If you accept the debunking, you know, then I think it's been a long time since I looked at this story, but I want to say it was like 47 different, like the bones came from like 47 different bodies or something. They claim that was Lucy. And so, but like things that are so flimsy just get accepted as fact so easily, along with the ignoring of fact. So I think Egyptology specifically has gotten a lot right because there is this written record in Egypt. And so I agree with a lot of what Egyptology says, but as a whole, the mainstream history is riddled with errors, even though you know, it's not 100% lies. It is very, very riddled with errors. And there are some blatant lies as well.
For me, it's like, you know, people become dependent on the thing, right? So they're going to eat off of it basically, right? And so, you know, they're not going to, it takes a lot for somebody to walk away from that paycheck. You know what I mean? Like,
and if you go against the narrative, that's what you're doing.
So strictly controlled, you know. And like with me, just the history of America itself, like the buildings and architecture across North America that are unexplainable. You know, that these things they show people in these little horse and buggies that couldn't hold a half a pallet of bricks without completely collapsing. And they have these granite blocks that are, you know, 18 feet long and 4 feet high is the perimeter, and then it scales up, and these are all these copper dome buildings that are built in the, you know, late 1700s when they're showing like a horse and buggy. They didn't even have paved streets, but you're expecting me to believe that you put these things, mortarless construction, and it's all across North America, you know. And like, you pay attention to a lot of that stuff, they don't ever say that these buildings were built.
So much of that has been destroyed now. There's been a major,
Chicago fires, all that, they were destroying those things. And there's some outliers. Like, we live in a town where there's two of those buildings right across the river from each other. And if you look into the old copper dome buildings and cathedrals as power supplies, you know, they always show that there's two of them. And if you stand at our courthouse and look right across to the church across the river, they're exactly the same height. The domes are the same. These big copper, fantastic things. Like, why don't we build that stuff now? You know what I mean? Like, if it was such the architecture and that is the pinnacle of architecture, why don't we do that?
Right.
You know
we have strip malls.
Because I have an opinion. It disagrees with yours, but
go ahead, give us it.
I think that we did build all of that stuff in the 1800s, early 1900s. And I think the reason that it's been destroyed and the reason why, you know, we don't build things like that now is that architecture and art and many other things, but very specifically architecture, has an extremely powerful effect on the psyche of the population.
Absolutely.
If you are surrounded by these magnificent buildings, these giant stone structures that are also just beautifully decorated, you are inherently aware of what you as a man are capable of because it is all around you. You live in it and you're surrounded by it. You're very connected to it. But now we have this modern architecture, which I personally think is very, but even if you think it's impressive, it's also something that is very separated from the individual. You are not picking up those stones and placing them. And I get they were much too large for someone to literally be picking them up and placing them, but you were with your ropes and your pulleys and everything else. Sure. You can't, there's an extra degree of separation with these modern buildings. And so I think the erasure of history, the perception that I got in school, the perception that is pushed on people in school and through pop culture that these people were these primitive savages in the past is because they don't want us to realize what we were capable of then. Right. And then looking at a world now, which is clearly more advanced, and asking the question, why the heck is everything so crappy now? It should be so much better. Our technological leverage is so much greater, and yet we're declining in so many ways. And so I think we're being deliberately and deliberately and for the purposes of control, they are erasing history and destroying the beauty.
I was just going to ask you that.
Yeah, our homes now are like the same thing as a jail cell. If you've ever been in jail, your rooms are the exact same thing. They're prisons, like prison for the mind. You know, there's no beauty, no like things that make you want to like achieve to gain something. It's by design. The way our houses are even by design. There's not much from a jail floor that looks, it's any different. That's right. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, in jail, you don't have access to the doorknob.
Yeah, but everything is designed the same. Like the room we're in, all these right angles and stuff. Nature doesn't have a lot of right angles.
Straight lines are right angles, that's for sure.
Right. So like that's counterintuitive to what natural design and natural order is. Right. And those things are made to make your brain feel like that. You don't even realize it. Feng shui, it's a real thing, and just, when your brain brings those beautiful things into, being just by looking at them, you know what I mean? Like that also, like he was saying that
it shows you what you're capable of, right? What's expected of you.
Right, exactly. It raises the bar.
The more connected you are to the beautiful things around you, if your father built the home you live in, like things like that, it really has a very powerful effect on you. And all of that is being removed from our lives. We're getting more and more separated from all of the production and everything, and no one has any connection to anything real anymore.
So do you have is there a sinister end to all of this? Does this go further, or are we getting nice stuff back sometime?
It's a cycle.
The people that are pushing these, the world direction, they don't want the happy ending for us. I think that
wait, what kind of happy ending are we talking about here?
the massage, but no. Okay. I think the sun is about to restart, not to be a doomsayer, but let me be a doomsayer. The sun's about to restart the world again, quite possibly within our lifetimes. Our magnetic field is rapidly declining, and the sun is increasing in its activity. And maybe we will make it through relatively unscathed, but it seems quite possible, at least, that we could get blasted and sent back to the Stone Age within the next 30, 40 years.
There's definitely evidence of the sun doing that.
They are trying to consolidate their power. I think they're trying to make it so that they hopefully are able to rule over the new world once it's reset. I can only imagine that's their goal. I'm not entirely sure, but they are certainly trying to control us right now in this current world.
Yeah, yep. They're making us dumb. They're making us disinterested. Telling your brain, paying people to pee and shit on canvas and telling you $2.7 million. That's beauty. Art. That's art. Like, no, that's insane. And I know you have an agenda with it. Like, nobody's going to buy shit thrown at a canvas.
Right. I get yelled at for peeing on the floor.
Right. You just cut it out and put it on the wall and put up 2.7 and you might get something. Sign it. You know what I mean? Mike was here.
Oh, man.
I remember going to an art museum on a field trip in school, and the person giving the tour started crying literally over this blue square. It was a solid blue square. It was a giant blue canvas.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And she was literally crying, and I was like, what the heck is wrong here? Retarded.
I'm with you.
$5 million and it's just so beautiful. And I was like, you are.
I got modern art. I got art one afternoon when I was at the Met, and it really made me so mad. Like, the piece was actually very powerful in the end, because I'm a glass blower. I spent most of my life blowing glass, so like I was really into the art scene and really wanted to make a statement and would go look at these exhibits. And I went to an exhibit at the Met, and it was 3 traffic cones, 2 pieces of sheetrock put together in a right angle with a blue tarp twisted up like a snake. And then somebody went all the way around it with duct tape, and so it made it look like this big duct taped snake. And then they stapled it in those right angles and put the traffic cones out in front of it. And that, like, when I always say 2.5 million, because that installation was $2.5 million. And I was so mad that, like, it ruined my afternoon, because I'm trying to make this beautiful Venetian glass. I'm studying masters. I'm getting burned and cut. And this clown tapes a tarp to the wall with a staple gun, put some traffic cones out, and never have to work another day in his life.
And he stole it all from outside in the trash.
But I got it. I got that art was some of the best art I'd ever seen now, because it made me so violently mad. I got it. I was like, I've never had a piece of art elicit this much emotion. And it was like, it dawned on me, like, oh my God, I get it. And I hated him even more. You know what I mean? Like, that was he was going for. He got me. But it's by design that I think that they do that. Yeah. They want they want everybody miserable and not paying attention to what they should be paying attention.
Well, that's what I think it is. I think they want you not paying attention to what you should be doing, and so you would just be doing it and talking about your own thing and doing your own thing instead of worrying about their thing.
Exactly.
And so
and why did they do everything to all the other stuff? Like, there is another history that I think the Jesuits and the people at the Vatican are keeping locked away from us all. Like, there has been a ton of cultures wiped out, and they've helped facilitate some of that stuff.
Say again?
I was just saying 50 miles of archives.
That's what I mean. There's evidence that even a mile of it would be fine to release to the world.
Well, for me, I feel like there's evidence of a worldwide global ancient civilization at the very least, right? I can't say to what you're going to call it. I mean, that's where I think sometimes people call that Atlantis, but you look
it's a
around.
Good name.
Yeah, right. But I mean, there's clearly was in the ancient world, I don't know how far ago, but people were all over this planet doing the same thing, building pyramids with very similar depictions on them. It's just you can't say otherwise.
It's also
everywhere. The knobs are everywhere. Yeah, there was clearly travel across the entire world in the ancient past, and also I think I agree that there was clearly previous civilizations. Yes, on both accounts.
Word. All right, Goob. So where's the best place to find you?
YouTube. YouTube is the place to find me.
So it's
or the Goob is YouTube/_the Goob.
Word. Yeah, I've had problems searching my own file or my own videos on YouTube. It's pretty frustrating sometimes.
There's this other the Goob that just popped up on Bobby Lee's show, Bad Friends, and he immediately has like 50,000 subscribers and is absolutely the first thing that pops up when you search for me now. So
this is not cool. Dude, we'll take care of this fella.
Yeah, but you know what? Sometimes you being that associated, people will just pop by like, oh, this isn't the guy I'm looking for, but let's check it out. You never know. Make a bunch of shorts. I would make some Goob shorts and make sure you got plenty of them flowing.
Yeah,
so,
word.
You know what I mean? So like if somebody's searching for that, they'll catch that, watch the short. Yep, I got a minute to find out what it's about.
Right, talk about whatever that dude's talking about.
He's old. The other guy's history.
Word. All right, Goob. We're gonna sign off, man. It's good talking to you.
Yeah, right, thank you very much. It's been great. We'll have to do this again sometime. Like I really like, we got a lot of things on the, in the wood pile that I'd like to talk about for sure.
Word.
Definitely.
Well, we can always call into your show too.
Yeah, we definitely will.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, take it easy, Goob.
Yep, thank you very much.
Later.
Okay.
Good night.
And we're back. The wonder of modern technology. See how we did that?
Quick rewind.
Yeah. Okay. And thanks. How was the Goob interview? Was great. Thanks for having us. Like, share, and subscribe. Do the things.